Shadowbringers. It's finally done. It was intense, man. It was a good ride. I don't usually play MMOs, so it's a bit of a different pace for me. When I actually started out on FF14, I started because someone else was really into it, and I did base game, and I finished it, and I was like, yeah, I didn't really enjoy that. And he said, no, just get through patch content, and Heaven's Sword is great. And I'm like, yeah, I'm trying, but it really sucks. So I thought, okay, either I just totally drop it, or after seeing this trailer for Shadowbringers, I'm like, and it has 9s out of 10s, I'm like, alright, I'm just gonna... So what you can do is you can actually buy to skip. So I just skipped all the way to Shadowbringers, because that's the game I wanted to play. And that's what I did, and it was definitely worth it. People have said that this is like the best Final Fantasy. I can't say that. I don't know. I mean, it's definitely up there. I think it can't compete for the best, maybe, but definitely not the best outright. So first off, what did I like about this expansion? Well, oh, by the way, and just for context, you were able to watch all the cutscenes, all of the main story content, and it just puts in your character into the cutscenes. So technically I, in brackets, played the game, and I made sure I did all the dungeons and raids, and honestly, that's pretty much like 80% of the content right there. The rest of it is like doing those fetch quests, which I just totally skipped because I just hated them with a passion. So I didn't really skip everything, So I had context when going into Shadowbringers. So what I liked about this is, first off, the tone, the setting. What they do in Shadowbringers, no big spoilers. They just kind of take you to a different dimension, in a way. And so they can just start fresh and do whatever they want, which is really cool. The tone, obviously the music. The music is a huge, huge thing. And with the main theme, with the trailer, it just got better and better. The themes I think are also really cool. How you have light and dark. I don't know, I'm just a sucker for that. Ever since Metroid Prime 2, just that the kind of light and dark duality and how they play off each other is always that always gets me. It's always just a cool concept, especially in this game where they take what I hate to call the Bayonetta route, where the light envelops and it's kind of there's too much light in this world. And that's actually what the bad guy is. And so what happens is you have these angel-like creatures that kind of come from the light and kill people and then turn them into other angel demon things. And so your job is to rebalance it. And I admit, this is the moment when it clicked with me, and I know it's the edgiest thing in the world, but because this world is saturated with light, the guy in the trailer is I've come to kill you, warrior of darkness. I'm like, yo, what? And so it's planned that you are now the warrior of darkness, because as you kill the light, you bring back the real world as it was to people, and so they call you the warrior of darkness. The other nice thing about this is that the sort of side characters are more developed. The main cast, so to speak, of the Oriange, Alice, and all those people. They added a new character who's the Minfilia Lolly Reborn-esque character, and she's okay, I guess. I mean, she's new, is what I guess I'm trying to say. Speaking of characters, Emmett Selt, yeah, he's really good, and the thing that I kept seeing posted over and over again is everyone has 100% sympathy for both Emmett Selk and Valkyrie, and I was like what is there to get here? What is there that's hidden? And Emmett Selk is, I would say, a perfect villain, and that's a lot to say, because I say he's perfect because his motivations and his goals are actually the exact same as yours, but the methods about how it comes about is just different. So your villain is totally relatable and also very tragic at the same time, and you can fully understand his position, and also the fact that what he's trying to do would actually make the world objectively a better place. It's real good. It's like once you know, because he just shows up, he's like, oh, I'm the effeminate Final Fantasy villain at number 42. Ooh. But then you find out why he be like that. You're like, all right, okay, I got you. And back to Valkyrie. So Valkyrie's that big Chungus character, and he just, he just had temper tantrums. He was just evil. He hated everyone. He was selfish and stupid and angry and just all the bad, terrible things. But when you find out why he's like that, it actually makes sense. And it's almost like it's not his fault, kind of. And you're like, oh man. So characters, especially the villains in this expansion, are big. I mean, very well done. They're a big reason to play. Music is so not just the main thing, but all the worlds, all the little towns and whatever, especially the forest levels and the fairy level. Oh my god. They're so good. They're ridiculously good. I guess on that note, I haven't played the Nier raids yet, but of course Nier has amazing music, so I'm really looking forward to doing that, and I love Nier anyway, so I know that's going to be good. Really cool concepts. They really go more into the lore of what Hydaelyn actually did, who is Zodiark, and what Zodiark actually did, and you just get way more context of the deep lore, of that lore that builds the world and the regions and everything, and that is it's much better than what we've gotten up to this point for the world. In terms of gameplay, I can't speak for everyone, obviously. So I'm Black Mage, so I stand in one spot, and if I die, it's the healer's fault, obviously. And I mean, like, let's be honest, Final Fantasy XIV, it's a girls' game. It's pretty casual. I don't know how controversial that is to say, but it's pretty casual. Like, you can't really be bad at Final Fantasy. Like, you can't really have that feeling of failure that Dark Souls gives you. So, and plus everything looks aesthetic. And that's kind of dawned on me, is that the way you win Final Fantasy XIV is not by actually beating the game, it's by making your character look as hot as possible. And fortunately, this is the one game where I'm actually playing a female character, so I guess that makes me a tranny at this point. But the point is, so so my honest opinion is that I only play female characters when I just don't care about the game I'm playing. I'm like, well, I might as well at least look attractive as a female so I can look at it, rather than actually being myself as myself in the game. Because if I make myself as myself, then I actually put myself in the game and I want to invest in it. But if I make myself a female, I just don't care, because that's just not who I am. It's like if I made myself like a dragon or something, or like one of those furry races. Well, maybe I could imagine myself as a furry. I don't know. That's a different conversation. But the point of being a female in this game is that there are so many more options to customize and make yourself look really good, and not just, cute or sexy or whatever, but just aesthetically, like, wow, beautiful. Like, oh, there's this one, like, I can't even describe it. I don't have the right words, but it's more like a military-esque kind of look. It looks super cool. And besides Black Mage, I also play Red Mage. That's pretty much it, actually. Red Mage is a Black Mage who moves around a little bit more, which was actually refreshing. One problem I did have with the game is that, like, there was a certain point, and they did give you a warning, like, early on in the expansion. There's a certain point where you're, like, level 79 out of 80, and you're about to, like, do the final mission, and before you can Yeah, it's the dumbest thing. Before you can do like the second or third final mission, the guy's like, "Oh, I'm not inspired," and in order to throughout this whole time, you've been able to continue along the main quest line as long as you were high enough level. But this one dude is like, you need to do this one other quest, which is like a quest chain for this one person. So you have to go all the way back to the Crystarium, find this guy, do his quest line, which is like multiple quests, and it's like a pseudo side story to the main story. It's backstory on Ardbert, the other warrior of darkness, and it's fine, but it makes you go on this path, and then when you're going on that quest line, then it blocks you from doing the final part of that quest line if you're not level 80. So then I had to grind and do, roulettes and level up. But it was just like, I was planning to beat the game that day because I was like almost done, but it's like, nope, you got to do this quest. And the quest is like, nope, we're not going to let you do the second. It's like, oh, fine. All right. Besides that though, so gameplay for Black Mage, I really liked what they did because they made it very simplified but also very efficient, which is super cool. So I mean, you have your MP and you never keep track of how much you use. You're just always spamming as much as you can, usually fire spells. But what they did in this expansion is, so you get a new fire spell which is more powerful, like super ultra powerful. It does target to single target, and then you unlock another ice spell. And this is the cool part: the ultimate higher level ice spell doesn't actually, it's not offensive, it's actually like a buff. And so what the ice spell does is that it lets you cast more fire spells. So the way it unintentionally sets this up is that there's one attack that would usually take all of your magic out. You can use it as much as you want. So I was like, oh, I'm gonna get this ice spell, like, oh, who cares about ice? But once I got it, I'm like, oh, I see, I can start to spam things now. So it got pretty good in that respect. And so what you do is, so you do your ice thing, and you have this thing, and it's like a very old attack, but it was so costly you never used it, and now you get to use it all the time, where you get to do damage to all the enemies in the area. So it's really good. And once you get that, it also has a counter where if you alternate between fire and ice, which you have to do anyway, so you don't like run out of mana totally. It also has this meter thing that builds up, more or less. And their final spell is called Xenoglossy, and it's not fire or ice, it's like this, black holes like attack that has the most amount of damage to one character instacast, and it is so much fun to use that. So they made it very streamlined. It's like you use one, you use one ice spell, then your ice buff, and then medium fire spell, and then a super powerful fire spell, and you keep alternating between those, and buffing in between and doing whatever you need to do in between till you build up your meter, use your Xenoglossy. So it was a very nice kind of flow to the gameplay, while previously it was a bit more predictable, like, okay, I have to do my 4 fire 4s, and then etc, etc. Also, the way I played Shadowbringers is that because I had such a terrible experience with patch content, I just skipped every single side quest. I did not care. I did do all the ones in the Crystarium because I was leveling up, but they were all like, go talk to this person, ask them how they're feeling. I'm like, this isn't good, I don't like this, but whatever. I mean, it could have been worse. Also, the designs of the creatures and everything are super, super good. I'm pretty sure they were actually from like a base game dungeon that they made during patch. So it's an amalgamation of a lot of things, but what I find is that that's funny about Shadowbringers is it's very similar to Heavensward, where you have like very heavy religious themes and whatnot, while Stormblood and the base game are more similar, where they're just like, oh, the Empire is evil, go and fight them. It's Star Wars, kind of. and it's just that whole quest line is always super boring. So it hasn't been consistently good. It's been more of a roller coaster. And Heavensward was much cooler and much more fun. The context of everything was so much more interesting. And I feel this is more like Heavensward, if not better. And the music, and the music in Heavensward was good too. I think they should just like stick to like we're just gonna fight angels and whatnot. I don't know. Yeah, the designs of the characters are really good, enemies really good. I find that the tone of this game, I feel every Final Fantasy game has a different thing it's just based on. When I was playing Final Fantasy VII, the only thing in the back of my mind is like, this is just American. Like, it's American Final Fantasy. You have your black sidekick. You're against the government. You're fighting, to save the ecosystem, and it just felt very Americanized, but not like the Americans taking advantage of it or taking it over, but it's more like the Japanese fitting it to an American setting. And Stormblood and base game were very much in the same vein of 12. I mean, they literally just stole the judge armor, but it is really aesthetic. So, but base game and Stormblood are very much seem to be based on Star Wars and that kind of style, I feel. While Heavensward, well, I can't speak for Heavensward. I mean, Heavensward is also just literally France, by the way. Shadowbringers seems to be more traditional fantasy, especially when you go to the fairy realm. It's like, okay, this feels like a Final Fantasy game because you're literally interacting with all the classical fantastical creatures and whatnot, but in a really kind of new and fresh kind of way. Like, you have this thing where you have to go to the underwater fairy realm and you have to walk through this ring and this gate, and it's I don't know, it's really cool. And nothing in the game felt really old or whatever. I mean, they did take old ideas that they had from previous games, or previous expansions rather. I mean, the most obvious one, the most painful one, and probably the worst experience of this expansion was Ranjit, who's one of the captains of Valthry's army, who's, the main villain, or one of the main villains. And, like, I just look at this guy, I'm like, you were beta content for Stormblood, because it was all Asian, and this guy is like, oh, I have tiger powers. And as I'm thinking, this guy is, like, super, like an Asian villain concept reject from Stormblood. He summons, like, 2 red dragons to fight you. I'm like, yeah, okay. Alright, there we go. Got him. And also just his character in general, just like, oh, I hate you, I will destroy you. And it's like, you're the worst part of the suspension. You have no personality. You suck. But I digress. The really cool part also of this is not only does it look cool because there's light and it looks like heaven and everything everywhere, but also each town has its own kind of story or theme to it. So it's kind of the apocalypse. One town is kind of like in mourning, and they're trying to save the sick and trying to heal despite the coming apocalypse almost. Another town is the center of commerce. Another town, is drowned in grief and decides to wallow in self-pity, kind of. And another town decides to live in total decadence and ignorance of the coming apocalypse or end of days. It's really interesting, and I love the themes and the names also of all the enemies you fight, like Forgiven Obscenity and Fragile Sin or whatever. I can't remember some of them, but it was really good. I don't know. I think just religious themes in games just always seem to work. I don't know why, but it's really dank. Also, the main theme and to this game is really good, but also they use it in a very cool way in the last part of the game. And I have to say that if you're doing Shadowbringers and you're feeling it's kind of like, not your thing, the last 3 or so hours of this game are absolutely kino. Just really, really good. And it even has that old school feel of an old school video game. I don't know how to describe it, but it felt so perfect the way it ended that it's definitely worth it. You kind of have this final confrontation, and it's just I can't think of how to make it any better. Like, it was so good and so perfect and so well executed. I'm like, and again, the aesthetics are just crazy, and the context and Emmett Selk and the way he develops and how he becomes almost your adversary, but at the same time, because his goals are just the same as yours, he's also the only other person that like can relate to you. And it's this really weird, messed up thing where you both have the same goals and desires, but you are split because of circumstance. It's really well done. He's a great villain because you can totally understand his intentions, and Selk does become the main focus in the end game, and that's when it just takes off, and it's beautiful because it looks at everything from his side, and it makes the villain seem sympathetic and understandable. And I love this direction that the game is going in, because it's so rare to find, and when it's well done, it's so good. But yeah, if you're slogging through the game, Shadowbringers is absolutely worth it. You know, if you're in a previous expansion, should you go and buy your way to Shadowbringers? Yeah, go ahead. You can still watch all the cutscenes with your character in it and get all the context anyway. I might not skip over Heavensward. I mean, I don't know. I didn't play it, but it looks like it's worth it. And if you're someone who's never played Final Fantasy XIV and you're thinking, oh, maybe I can get a Shadowbringers, I'd give it a shot. But I would you'd have to like buy all the stuff so that you have the full pass to Shadowbringers. Plus, you need to I think level up your character and buy the pass through all the expansions. So it is it's not inexpensive, is what I'm saying. But it is a pretty good experience. Like, it's a damn good game. Just in terms of story and plot. And you could watch it online, I guess, but it's not going to be your character, so, it's hard to say. But yeah, really good game, amazing soundtrack. I'm definitely going to be listening to it. I think I'm going to do more of the patch content, and I'm so glad I stuck with it. But yeah, guys, have fun becoming the bringer of shadow.